My name is Dale Clayton, although most people call me Coach Clayton, and that comes from 38 years of college basketball coaching, which was great. I'm a 1969 freshman enrollee, if you will, at Milligan College, graduated in 1973. After graduation, I became the financial aid director at Milligan College and also the assistant basketball coach. Had 8 great years at Milligan, 8 of the best years of my life, actually. It was a time when I feel like not only was my future shaped, but also my character and a lot of who I am as a result of being here at Milligan College and playing for Coach Phil World and being influenced by Prof. Sisk and Phyllis Fontaine and many other people. One of my coaches during that time, of course, was Coach Dewart Walker, and had some great times with Coach Walker. Still do, always enjoy seeing him. So Milligan was just a great place for me. My wife came to Milligan, and so we're both alums. I'm still in contact with a lot of my Milligan College friends, my roommate Larry Crane, many people. And I see a lot of Milligan people, different places that I go because I travel literally all across the country. So, man, my time at Milligan was just great. Fun time, enjoyable time. A little bit trying initially, but nothing that was difficult. Just a fun place for me. I don't know about a lot of other people, but for me, I just had a great time. And I'm usually on campus at least once a year, sometimes more. And that's because I just always feel good when I come. I guess one little tidbit is my relationship with Don Jeans, the former president. I know everyone called him Dr. Jeans, but for me, he was always Don. And we just had a great relationship. In fact, he trained me. He was the financial aid director before I was. And he's the one who taught me how to do that. So just a lot of great memories. Well, my story's a little different. In high school in Mount Dora, Florida, there were 3 teachers who were alums of Milligan College. And I was an athlete, was all-state in 3 sports, and was actually going to go play college football, had an injury, and it was advised that I not do that. And Gary Nicholson, who graduated, I believe, in 1964, was my track coach and the junior varsity basketball coach. And so he asked me, he said, well, have you ever thought about going to Milligan? And I said, well, no, I don't know anything about Milligan. So he contacted Harold Stout, who was then the baseball coach and basketball coach. Harold came to see me play, and I came up, visited Milligan, had a good visit, and decided to come, not because I knew much about Milligan, but I thought it would be good for me to go someplace where I didn't know anyone. I thought it would be good for me to leave Florida and go away to school. I had a lot of friends that were going to a lot of historical black schools. A lot of my family had attended those schools, but I just wanted to go someplace where I didn't know anyone. And I came up here and I thought, man, this is country if I've ever seen country. I'd never seen anything like it, and yet I thought it would be a good place for me. And so I just decided to come. Well, anytime I think about Milligan, the first thing that comes to my mind is Phil World, my coach, and actually my best friend, even today. I think about how hard he worked for us to have a good basketball program. When I came to Milligan, we were not very good. And I remember distinctly going to play Carson Newman, and man, they beat us so bad. And not only that, they had a chance to break their scoring record. And even though the game was almost over, the coach put all the starters back in the game. And after that, we went in the locker room, and something really amazing happened. Coach World was in tears, and he apologized to us, and he said, "I promise you that this will change." And I watched him build a program, and I remember it got to a point where we gave Carson Newman the worst loss they'd had. They came in here and played, and Coach Mahaffey called 4 timeouts the first half, and I thought, man, things have changed. But watching Coach World and the way he worked with the players and the way he cared about us and individuals and wanted us to graduate, wanted us to have a relationship with Christ, it was just different. I'd never been around a coach like him. And so when I think about my early days at Carson Newman, it's always centered around Coach World and our basketball team and the guys that I played with like Toonie Cash and guys that just had a big impact on me personally. And no one knew this, but I had planned to only stay a year. And then I was going to leave and go back and play football because I missed playing football. But man, I had such a wonderful experience, and I met such great friends that I decided this was where I needed to be. It was just a great place. People really cared about each other, and even though it was 1969 and there were only 5 black students on campus, we weren't having any issues. It was just a good place. To be honest, it doesn't mean much because I think what happened is I was in that first class. Along with me was Jackie Ellis, and it was just a matter of having an opportunity. Because we had an opportunity to come to Milligan, we had an opportunity to graduate. I think if others had had that opportunity earlier, they would have graduated. So it's not something I'm especially proud of or something that I think's unique. I just think it's one of those things that happens when you have the first opportunity. It's like being the first African American head coach at Carson Newman. I was the first guy that got the opportunity, and so that's why I became the first. But other than that, I don't place any significance on it. I think the main thing that Milligan did was, I remember our motto was Christian education, the hope of the world. And I used to think, man, what does that mean? Even when I was a student, and they put it on your class ring and you read that and you go, oh, what does this mean? And I came to understand what that means. And again, I came to understand because of some of the people that I met here in Milligan. And because of Coach World and the impact that he had on me, even though I had taken the LSAT and had planned to go to law school, I decided that I wanted to coach. I wanted to coach. I wanted to impact young men the way he had impacted not only me, but so many of my teammates. And so what I was looking for then was an opportunity to coach full time. And I didn't want to be a financial aid director or anything like that. I just wanted to coach. And so I got an opportunity to coach with Mel Hankinson at Delta State, which was interesting because Delta State is in Cleveland, Mississippi. And I thought, man, I'm never going to live in Mississippi. The brothers have had a hard enough time in Mississippi. There's no reason for me to go there. But I went to Cleveland, Mississippi, had a great experience with Coach Hankinson. It was short-lived. After 1 year in Cleveland, I became the top assistant at Vanderbilt University, working with Wayne Dobbs, and coached in the SEC 6 years, coached with C.M. Newton and some other people. Just a great experience. And so I left there. I went to Sanford University. I went and coached at the University of Southwest Louisiana. Left there and went to Carson Newman and spent 22 years as the head coach at Carson Newman. 25 years total. I was associate athletic director for 18 of those years, and had a wonderful experience. It was good. It was the right size. I could coach. I could do what I wanted to do with the players in a Christian environment. I can involve my family with the program. I could make decisions on who we played, when we played, and I didn't have to be away every Christmas like I was for 15 straight years. in Division I. And so it was a great time. And coaching gave me other opportunities to be involved in the NCAA on a national level, to chair some committees, to become president of the National Association of Basketball Coaches. Basketball has been really good. I've gotten to travel, not just here in the United States, but to Europe and Asia, give basketball clinics. It's been wonderful, just absolutely wonderful. And but it all started here with Phil Worrell and the way he coached, because the way he coached encouraged me to become a coach, something I never thought I would do.
Good stuff.
We played Milligan one time, and then I would not play them anymore. Coach Worrell was the coach. He was my coach, and I just didn't like playing against my coach. He was a better coach than I was, but I had some advantages that he didn't have, and so it was hard for them to be successful against us. We had more scholarships. We just had the fair advantage, and it was hard for me to look down the floor and see my coach there and my team's winning the game, and it was just not. That was not fun for me. So I did not want to play. Plus, we left the conference. Initially, we were in the conference with Milligan, but we left and became Division II and went into a totally different conference. So. My perspective didn't change. I've always been a little different, and most people tell me that I became an old man when I was a little kid. And so for me to 1 year be the captain of the team and the next year be an assistant coach on the team was really not a very difficult adjustment for me. Because when I was a player, I wasn't into a lot of crazy things, and so it wasn't like I was having to just change who I was now that I was coaching. It just meant that I had some authority I didn't have before. So that part was not difficult, and I had such a good relationship with the players, with Eddie Carver and Dan Harding and Marty Street. It was just easy. I know that sounds strange. You would think it would be difficult. Plus, I didn't feel like I had to prove to someone I was the assistant coach or I knew more than they did. That wasn't the case. So the transition was really smooth. And Coach Worrell helped make it smooth. Well, when I first stopped coaching, as I told you, I was associate athletic director at Carson Newman, and then I also became the coordinator of student athlete success. I worked with students, did some academic advising for students, but spent more time involved with the students spiritually. And then when I left Carson Newman, I went to the Nations of Coaches, which is a ministry for college basketball coaches. And I am the vice president of the coaches ministry. So I work with college basketball coaches, I mentor college basketball coaches, I counsel coaches, I work with college coaching staffs, I work with players. I'm at a lot of practices, I'm at a lot of games. It's kind of a joke, not a joke, but a lot of times the coaches call me Pastor Clayton. Some of them still call me Coach Clayton because they've known me when I was a coach, but in a lot of ways that's what I am. I'm a pastor to coaches. And it has been off the chart. I mean, I have had a great time. We do summits for coaches. We do marriage conferences for coaches. I help prepare coaches for interviews if they're getting ready to have jobs. I've done some preliminary job interviews for athletic directors because I know the coaches. It's just neat. I go to Final Fours. That's been one of the neat things. I have been to 38 consecutive Final Fours. Now at the Final Four, it's work for me because I'm working with the coaches and while I'm there. But it's just been a blast. and it's been a blast. Sometimes I don't know why one person should have the privilege of having so much fun. And the funny thing is, what you learn is people are enamored with coaches, and they look and go, "Oh man, there's John Calipari for Kentucky," or "There's Rick Pitino," or Izzo, or Tubby Smith, or John Thompson and Chaney and Nola Richardson, those guys. And I go, "Oh, where are they?"
You know, and so we got this standing joke, and the joke is that someone said to me, "Oh man, I saw you were hanging out with Tubby Smith." I said, "No, you misunderstood. Tubby was hanging out with me." and I'm always fascinated how when you don't live in that world, people look at those guys and it's, oh man, and I've been in that. You know, I've walked the red carpet at events and people are taking pictures and doing all those things, and I just laugh because I think it's funny. And I think, why do people think we're such a big deal? Because we really are. And once you know those guys, they're just like everyone else. And I'll conclude with this story. My daughter, who was born while we were here at Milligan, goes to Final Fours with me, and she goes places and she speaks and she lives in the athletic world. She's the executive director of the Nashville Sports Authority, and that's the world she lives in. And she used to come to me when I was at Vanderbilt and say, "Dad, I don't understand. Why do people get excited when Hutch Jones comes around? You know, Hutch is an NBA guy." You know, she says, "I don't get that." I said, "But Monica, you grew up with Hutch. Hutch would come over to the house. Hutch would take you out to the park. Jeff Turner played in the NBA, Will Perdue, all those NBA guys. They don't mean that much to you because they're just a normal part of your life. That's the difference." And I said, and that's why I am the way I am with coaches. They're just a normal part of my life. And but it's been a great life. Never thought I would live in the athletic world. I only saw athletics as something you do for fun. Then you would go be an attorney. My brother's an attorney. He graduated from Milligan. He went to Vietnam, came back, graduated from Milligan, and we were going to be attorneys. And then I backed out. And I ended up being a college basketball coach.
The best thing about being in Milligan's Hall of Fame for me is the people that I'm in the Hall of Fame with. I can remember someone called me and said, "Man, we want to nominate you to be inducted into the Hall of Fame." And I said, "I can't do that." And he said, "So what do you mean? Why would you not do that?" I said, "I can't see myself being in a Hall of Fame before Phil Worrell." I said, "If Phil Worrell ever goes into the Hall of Fame, then I'll be open to going into the Hall of Fame. Not that I don't think it's an honor, but that's just how much respect that I had for my college coach. And once he was in, then I was excited to be in. Mark Bird, a lot of these guys I played with, Toonie Cash. When people tell you that what makes Milligan great is not the name Milligan, not the church it's affiliated with, it's not the campus, it's the people, I get that. That's what makes it great. When the people change and cease to be who they are, then it cannot be the kind of institution it is. That's what I think about. And when I think about the Hall of Fame, and I think about the quality of the people, Dale Harris, a good friend of mine, Sonny Smith, one of my closest friends in coaching. We used to coach against each other. And I even had a chance to be on the same coaching staff with them. They're the ones that made me excited about being in the Hall of Fame, because I was going to be in there with a group of just great people that I admire and people that really touched my life. Sonny Smith was responsible for my first full-time head coaching job. He was the one that recommended me for that job at Delta State, and recommended me for the head coaching job at Carson Newman. So that's why I'm excited, because there are a bunch of great people in there, and they're all the byproduct of Milligan. But that's what makes me excited. Well, of course, you immediately go back to when you first came on campus. When I first came to Milligan, the bridge that you see was not there. The president's house was not there. There's several things that are here now, the village, that were not here then. One of the things that's absent that you would never think about is when we came to Milligan, along the main road, the tennis courts was on the right, party hall was on the left, along with Western Library, but there were telephone poles everywhere, all along the street. And Don Jeans, I believe it was, had the idea of removing those poles. And I tell you what, it really changed the campus. And when you come on campus now, it's just beautiful, and you see that, but you remember what it was like before. And so that happens, and but one of the things that always crossed my mind is freshman week. The students now don't have the pleasure of having freshman week. Now there are some faculty who would say, well, we need to do away with freshman week. But it was a great bonding time, and we did some wacky things. But man, what a blast we had. And there used to be a tree on one side of Buffalo Creek, and the upperclassmen would have a tug of war against the freshmen. And the freshmen never won because the upperclassmen would tie the rope to the tree. And they would get in front of it, and man, but there's no way you can win. Well, I had become good friends with a couple of seniors, and they told me what was happening. And so I knew we couldn't win, and so I was one of the leaders of freshman class, and I was right there in the front of that rope. And I just said, you know what, this isn't going to work. So I told the guys, I said, you know what, we're not going to win on this rope. So you know what we're going to do? We're going across the creek and we're going to get them. And so as soon as they finally got us in the creek, we just kept going, and we got up on the other side of the creek, and every upperclassman we saw, we threw them in. And man, we had so much fun. And I think about those things, and I think, you know, what a great experience I had. And that's what happens when you come back. I not only see people here that I knew when I was here, and professors like Dr. Nix, or people that were still around the last time I came on campus. But when I come, that's what usually happens, is I just think, what a great experience I had. And then I'll see Kevin Harkey. We graduated together. I'll see people like Mark Fox, who was in the dorm when I was a dorm resident at Pardee. And of course, I see Dewart Walker, my old track coach, and just someone that's followed my career, and the memories are great.